It was a cold December morning in 2021, the kind where Washington's marble corridors felt more like mausoleums than halls of power. The nation was still reeling from pandemic chaos, supply chain snarls, and the kind of political trench warfare that made compromise a dirty word. Amid this backdrop, Time magazine dropped a bombshell. Elon Musk, the irreverent billionaire behind Tesla, SpaceX, and 1,000 memes, was named Person of the Year. For a fleeting moment, America remembered what made it great. Not bureaucrats shuffling papers, but builders who dared to dream bigger than the next election cycle. The accolade didn't sit well with everyone. Senator Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts's self-styled champion of the working class, was not amused. From her Senate office, surrounded by framed photos of her shaking hands with union leaders and dog-eared copies of her own books, she fired off a tweet that would ignite a firestorm. "This is what a rigged tax system looks like," she wrote, her words dripping with the sanctimonious certainty of a preacher at a revival. "Let's change the tax code so the person of the year will actually pay taxes." The tweet wasn't just a jab, it was a declaration of war. Warren, a former Harvard professor who'd parlayed her populist rhetoric into a political empire, wasn't merely calling out Musk's wealth. She was framing him as the poster child for everything she claimed was wrong with America. Never mind that Musk, unlike the hedge fund titans she rarely targeted, was building electric cars, reusable rockets, and neural interfaces. To Warren, he was a billionaire, and that was sin enough. Musk, never one to let a slight go unanswered, didn't just respond, he counterattacked. From his Spartan office at Tesla's Fremont factory, he tapped out a reply on his phone, his fingers moving with the precision of a sniper. "Senator Karen," he tweeted, the nickname cutting through the noise like a blade, "stop projecting." The internet erupted. Within minutes, hashtags were born, memes multiplied, and X became a digital coliseum where Musk's supporters and Warren's acolytes clashed in a frenzy of likes and retweets. But Musk wasn't done. He followed up with a screenshot of his 2021 tax bill. $11 billion, the largest single-year tax payment in U.S. history. "Do you seriously think I'm freeloading, Senator?" he posted, the words laced with a mix of defiance and amusement. "More than anyone in history. Check the math." Warren didn't respond directly. Her team, a well-oiled machine of NPR listening staffers and academic allies, pivoted to talking points about systemic inequities and billionaires gaming the system. But the damage was done. Musk had held up a mirror, and what it reflected was a politician who thrived on moral posturing while dodging scrutiny of her own contradictions. Behind the scenes, something shifted. In Tesla's boardrooms, executives exchanged wary glances. In Musk's mind, a hypothesis formed. This wasn't just a spat. It was the opening salvo in a campaign to neutralize him, not for his taxes, but for his refusal to kneel. To understand why Musk took Warren's attack so seriously, you have to understand the senator's playbook. Elizabeth Warren didn't rise from a middle-class Oklahoma upbringing to a multi-million-dollar net worth by accident. Her career was a masterclass in leveraging outrage to build power. As a law professor, she'd championed consumer protections, railing against credit card companies and predatory lenders. As a senator, she'd turned that rhetoric into policy, most notably with the creation of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, in 2010, a brainchild of the Obama-era Dodd-Frank Act. On paper, the CFPB was a noble endeavor, an agency tasked with shielding consumers from corporate greed. In practice, it was something else, a bureaucratic juggernaut with unprecedented autonomy. Unlike other agencies, the CFPB didn't answer to Congress for its budget. It drew funds directly from the Federal Reserve, a structure Warren herself had advocated. Its director, appointed for a 5-year term, was nearly untouchable, immune to presidential dismissal except in extreme cases. To Warren's critics, this wasn't oversight. It was a blank check for political warfare. Musk wasn't the first innovator in Warren's crosshairs. Over the years, she'd targeted tech giants, crypto pioneers, and fintech startups, always under the banner of protecting consumers. In 2018, she'd called for breaking up Amazon, Google, and Facebook, accusing them of monopolistic practices. In 2020, she'd taken aim at cryptocurrency, warning of its dangers to financial stability. Each time, her rhetoric followed a pattern: vilify the innovator, rally the base, and unleash the CFPB's enforcement arm to do the dirty work. What set Musk apart was his defiance. Unlike most CEOs who hired lobbyists to appease regulators, Musk fought back. Publicly, unapologetically, and with a platform that reached millions. "She always goes after people who make things," he remarked in a 2022 interview, his voice tinged with exasperation. "But she never builds anything herself." For Musk, Warren's attack wasn't personal, it was ideological. She represented a system that rewarded compliance and punished ambition, a system that saw innovation as a threat unless it came with a leash. By late 2021, Musk's suspicions were hardening into certainty. Warren's tweet wasn't a one-off, it was a signal. The CFPB, with its $600 million annual budget and army of enforcers, was being weaponized, not to protect consumers, but to control the future. And Musk, with his factories, rockets, and unfiltered voice on X, was the biggest threat to that control. Fast forward to mid-2024, and the stakes had escalated. Musk was no longer just a billionaire provocateur. He was a global force, reshaping industries from automotive to artificial intelligence. Tesla's market cap had surpassed $1 trillion. SpaceX was landing rockets on drone ships, and xAI, Musk's private AI venture, was racing to build artificial general intelligence. But with success came scrutiny, and Warren was ready to pounce. The spark came from an internal Tesla memo, leaked to the press in June 2024. The memo detailed Musk's decision to reroute 12,000 NVIDIA AI processors, critical for Tesla's machine learning infrastructure, from a delayed data center project to xAI. The move was pragmatic. Tesla's new Giga Texas facility wasn't ready, and warehousing the chips would cost millions in storage fees. By redirecting them to xAI, Musk ensured they'd be used immediately, with plans to reallocate them to Tesla later. It was the kind of efficiency that defined his empire. Warren saw it differently. To her, the decision was a smoking gun, a chance to paint Musk as a corporate raider, exploiting Tesla's shareholders for personal gain. Within a week, she fired off a letter to Tesla's board, accusing Musk of conflict of interest, shareholder exploitation, and unethical corporate redirection. The letter, CC'd to half the Senate Finance Committee, was leaked to CNBC before it even reached Tesla's chair, Robin Denholm. In Giga Texas's sleek boardroom, the mood was tense. Denholm, a no-nonsense Australian, dropped the letter on the table like it was radioactive. She's accusing you of using Tesla assets to enrich XAI, she said, her voice steady but her eyes sharp. And she's implying it violates your fiduciary duty. Musk, standing by a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the factory floor, didn't look up from his phone. She's a politician pretending to be a compliance officer, he said, his tone equal parts amusement and disdain. What's next? Auditing my garage? Denholm wasn't laughing. She leaked it to the press, Elon. This isn't just a letter. It's a performance. Musk turned, his expression hardening. What does she want us to do? Run our logistics through her ethics committee? Denholm sighed, flipping through the letter's pages. She's not coming after chips, Elon. She's coming after you. Musk paced, his mind racing. On a $174,000 salary, she's somehow worth $73 million, he muttered, the number a jab at Warren's wealth, which public records pegged closer to $12 million, but which rumors inflated wildly. She calls this corruption? I call it capitalism. The board issued a formal response, clarifying that the chip redirection was approved and designed to save costs. But Musk wasn't satisfied with defense. He saw the bigger picture. Warren wasn't just targeting him. She was using Tesla as a proxy to flex her regulatory muscle. And at the heart of that muscle was the CFPB, an agency Musk now suspected was less about consumer protection and more about political control. The turning point came 2 weeks later, in July 2024, when Musk received an encrypted call from an unexpected source, Coinbase's internal counsel. The voice on the line was clipped, cautious but urgent. Mr. Musk, I know you're not in crypto, but you need to know something. We're getting pressure, unofficial but real. Banks are backing away from us. No regulation, no law, just a feeling. All roads lead to the CFPB. The call wasn't a plea, it was a warning. Musk canceled his schedule and locked himself in his Doge office, a nickname for his Spartan workspace at Tesla's Austin headquarters. For 9 hours, he pored over every public and off-the-record document he could find on the CFPB. Enforcement actions, funding requests, internal memos, even rumors circulating on X. What emerged was a pattern, a system of orchestrated pressure targeting companies that didn't align with Warren's vision. The CFPB had fined Wells Fargo $3.7 billion in 2022 for widespread mismanagement, and Bank of America $250 million in 2023 for misleading communication. It had sued Capital One for $2 billion, citing predatory interest rates that were bizarrely below market averages. Each action was sold as consumer protection, but Musk saw a different motive: punishment for independence. Crypto firms, fintech startups, and now Tesla all were innovators who threatened the status quo. Musk's hypothesis was simple but explosive. The CFPB wasn't a regulator, it was a battering ram, designed by Warren and wielded by its director, Rohit Chopra, to enforce ideological conformity. And Warren, with her populist rhetoric and growing wealth, was the puppet master. By March 2025, the battle had moved from Twitter to the halls of power. Musk, now a key figure in the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, a new agency tasked with streamlining federal operations, had subpoena power and a mandate to root out waste. He turned his sights on the CFPB, and what he found was staggering: $711 million in unallocated reserves, tucked away without congressional oversight, and a pending request for another $825 million from the Federal Reserve. In Doge's Washington office, Musk stood with Russell Vought and Vivek Ramaswamy, two allies in his quest for accountability. Vought slammed a binder on the table. $711 million just sitting there, he said, his voice tight. No receipts, no accountability. Ramaswamy flipped through the documents. And they want another $825 million without Congress's approval? That's not a request. It's a heist. Musk leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. While Warren's preaching about billionaires dodging taxes, her pet agencies sitting on more cash than Fiji's GDP. The trio issued an order to freeze CFPB disbursements and launch a full audit. Warren responded with an injunction, claiming Doge lacked authority. In a tense federal courtroom, Musk faced off against Warren's legal team. "This isn't about politics," he told the judge, his voice calm but firm. "It's about $711 million that hasn't protected a single consumer, unless Warren's the consumer." The judge denied Warren's motion, and Doge gained access to CFPB's records. The findings were damning. Opaque spending, strategic fund classifications, and a pattern of enforcement actions timed to political cycles. Musk took the evidence to the Senate Banking Committee on March 15, 2025, in a hearing that would change everything. The Dirksen Senate office building was a hive of anticipation that morning. Room 106, usually a staid venue for financial oversight, felt like a courtroom in a John Grisham novel. Chairman Mike Crapo tapped his gavel, his voice measured. "We are here to evaluate the operational independence of the CFPB and whether recent oversight actions have exceeded statutory authority." Warren spoke first, her tone icy. "Mr. Musk, it's dangerous when billionaires use government positions to target institutions they dislike. Doge was meant to improve efficiency, not gut the agency I created to protect working families." Musk didn't flinch. "The only portfolio I'm protecting is the American taxpayers," he said, holding up a report. "This details $711 million in unallocated CFPB funds, withdrawn without congressional review. Doge didn't target the CFPB. It asked where the money's going." Warren interrupted, but Musk pressed on. "The CFPB fined Wells Fargo $3.7 billion, yet $711 million of that vanished into reserves. Who's being protected? Not consumers, unless consumer means senators with campaign debts." The room gasped. Musk flipped to a chart. Bank of America fined $250 million for an email Warren didn't like. Capital One sued for $2 billion because their rates were too low. This isn't regulation, it's retribution. He turned to Warren. "How does a senator earning $174,000 a year build a net worth of $12 to $73 million? Unless you're moonlighting as a hedge fund, something doesn't add up." Warren's response was measured but strained. "These actions returned $21 billion to consumers. Musk's spectacle lacks context." Musk leaned back. "Corruption without accountability is just Tuesday in Washington." Crapo closed the hearing with a bombshell, a recommendation for a federal investigation into CFPB overreach, Doge obstruction, and Warren's financial disclosures. As Musk left the room, he paused, looking back at Warren. "This isn't just corruption," he said. "It's betrayal of public trust." The fallout was immediate. Headlines blared, Warren's CFPB implosion, and Musk exposes corruption. The probe into Warren's finances found no clear evidence but damaged her reputation. The CFPB's funding was overhauled, its reserves audited, and its actions scrutinized. For Musk, it wasn't personal. It was about dismantling a system that stifled innovation to shield power. Warren's populist aura faded, and America briefly recalled that its future lay with builders, not bureaucrats.